and had to close the doors to my studio, so hopefully the stream stays good. It's raining so hard and so loud that it's hard to hear anything while doing a live stream. So I had to close the door because I can't hear anything. It is raining really, really hard at the moment. Anyways, greetings, people. Who said, somebody, Loey Appett said, lockdown forever? I think some people would like to see that, right? A lockdown forever might benefit. I wonder who that would benefit. Yeah, Jacob Gordon, you're already way in front of everybody. AC is a positive feedback loop. It's so hot we want to cool down. Using AC burns more carbon, which heats the planet up and encourages us to turn the AC on even more. And the cycle feeds into itself. And imagine millions of people in a large city. Remember when I read that? I read an article, or it was an excerpt from a book, and it was about the near future in a new climate change regime. And it was about Bangladesh, and it was about people being so hot that people were nearing a wet bulb temperature. At that stage, if thousands and millions of people are suffering like that, do you think people are gonna, people gonna do whatever they can to stay cool? Like, burn dirty generators and, whatever they can find, wood, coal, anything they can scrounge from the countryside, anything they can do to power their little AC units. Regulations and considerations for emissions and climate change, et cetera, are all going to go straight out the window. People are going to just be like, anyways, I don't want to die today, so I'm going to do whatever I can not to die today. I know that's really harsh. I'm sorry if that's uncomfortable. Scott Andrews says it's really windy in Missouri. And never forget that Missouri loves company. I love that joke. I say it whenever I can. Irk1 says natural AC is cold north-facing caves. Yes. Urban Hermit says, I thought the sound in the background wouldn't be AC. Okay. No, we're getting some natural cooling right now. Some natural, we're getting some rain. It's a wonderful thing. We're actually getting some hail right now. Yes, and people are easily irritated in wet bulb temperatures, I would say. If not, a little lethargic. I feel sleepy. I'm just going to lie down over here, okay? Okay. Excuse me. Anyways, we've got a couple people watching, 7 people on Rockfin. Let's get more people on Rockfin, ROKFIN.com. Urban Hermit, Raza. Who else is here? I thought I saw a snake. I thought I saw Snake. Irk1, Snake 1974. And I'm sorry about the feed, guys. I have the door closed. So it's making the feed none too smooth. I apologize. Obsolete Optics says, is cloud seeding fiction? No. Anthony Davis, Missouri loves companies. That's very good. Very good. Touche. Scott Andrews says, more solar panels to power our AC units. Of course. As long as they're green AC units. Are they green AC units? Um, are they retrofitted resilient AC units? Anyways, lots of people on the YouTube chats. Greetings, Charlie Adams, Scott Andrews, Lance Rebo, Poppy Davis, OWASF, Zero Clutter Ultra, one of my favorite handles. JF Sebastian, also a great handle. Home again, jiggity jig. JF Sebastian says rock dust spread all over will save us. Yes. Spread the dust. Exactly. Charlie Adams. COVID is the new 9/11. Exactly. Escape with Lord Hugh. How you doing? Says AC equals alien cortex. Indeed. Lance, yes, I can do that. Please send me a link or information to blackbearnews@gmail.com. I think that email is in my description box. You can find it there. Yeah, I saw that. Anthony Davis, Texas lifted the mask mandate today. I have conflicting feelings about that. I'm not even going to go into them right now. But that's an interesting development, sure. Did you know, Anthony Davis, that New York is allowing people to eat indoors in restaurants? Did you know that? So Texas lifts a mask mandate. Oh my God, these crazy lunatic Neanderthal Republicans. But people are eating indoors in New York City. Apparently, that's what I heard. Are there any headlines screaming, oh my God, these crazy Neanderthals, what are they doing? Don't they know there's COVID out there? Just an aside, just an interesting aside. Ross Cobbin, indeed, that is the big question. Oh, Anthony Davis, no, I disagree. I think actually, let me retract that. I don't know if he did or not, honestly, because his recovery was so swift, right? For something that has a really long incubation period and has, pretty harsh symptoms, right? I mean, he seemed to be all cured in about 3 days. That seemed to be a really fast turnaround time. But anyways, I don't know. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I'm not sure. Oh, okay. Anyways, let's get into some stuff. And again, yes, I'm ready to go live on Rockfin. I am live on Rockfin. Irk1 says it may be 25% capacity in New York. Yeah. Well, they're not allowing full capacity, but still. I'm just saying. And they're actually talking about opening up restaurants in LA soonish. I don't know. It was supposed to be, we were supposed to move into another tier yesterday, and I don't know if that actually happened or not. But anyways, it's all very interesting. The info, the non-info, the outrage, the faux outrage, the silos. Have silo, will opine. Have silo, will tweet. All right, I think I'm already live. I don't know how many times I've gone live on Rockfin, but it keeps asking me to go live over and over. Anyways, I think everybody's been watching me on Rockfin for a while. Okay. It's good to have a blank screen when you want to look at something. Come on, man. Come on. Now, don't mess around. Don't mess around. Okay. This is from Crike Hami. Crike. Hami. Hope I'm saying that right. This is why I fear we are doomed. We are in an existential crisis. The future of our species is at stake. Our ability to live on this planet will be severely challenged over the next 15 to 20 years. Yet for all the talk, it's business as usual in pursuit of ever-increasing growth. And he's retweeting this post from Go Green. Hypocrite governments talk about saving Earth from climate change and biodiversity collapse are promoting recovery of aviation tourism and fossil fuel industry. And remember, their recovery makes Earth even sicker, fueling even more extreme climate as Arctic disappears before our eyes. Yes. We got to have a green recovery. We got to have, we're going to have the economy recover, but it's all going to be very equitable. We're going to do it right, guys. And if you believe that, I have an island, my own private island to sell you. I own it, the whole island. And this is why I got a little upset yesterday. Why I'm so upset at the language that is in every single climate change article is like, oh, but people of color are impacted the worst, and we want to fight climate change because of equity, and like, yes, we all do want to do that, but you're not going to do that. You can't even give people a $15 minimum wage. You fucking liars. You want to help people of color and give people equity? How about paying some fucking money? You liars, and then they just pass this COVID relief bill. That's like, half of everything they promised and, leaves a lot to be desired and doesn't include a $15 minimum. It's just basically full of broken promises, this COVID relief bill. But, they're trying to pump it at you. They're trying to give it to you like, get ready for a whole bunch of money, guys. Oh, yay. Progressives should be really happy about this bill. Oh, yay. The Democrats are really doing it right this time. Oh, yay. Bernie Sanders, we're lifting people out of poverty. Shilling for the fucking Biden administration. I don't have the whole speech that he gave, but it was like ridiculous. He was trying to hype up how great this bill was. And we were going to, we're going to bring, we're going to lift people out of poverty and we're going to make America great again. And this is so, this is so radical and this is so progressive and this is so right on time. When, all of this language is being used to promote a bullshit, half-assed, broken promise relief bill. And everybody's supposed to just like be overjoyed about it. So don't, all these climate articles that are like, oh, equity, oh, we want equity, and oh, this is impacting people of color. Yeah, it is. But don't stop virtue signaling and fucking do something about it, okay? You don't care about equity, so stop talking about you caring about equity. You're scoring points, is what I'm saying. They always, every climate change article has to have this thing about equity and it's impacting people of color. Yeah, because you're scoring points with your virtue signaling bullshit when you actually don't fucking care. How's that for an opening rant? And that's why I'm so annoyed by that language, because they don't care. They don't effing care. When's the last time they cared about people of color? that you haven't cared, for centuries, and you haven't cared for the last few decades, and all of a sudden you say, "Oh, geez, we really care about people of color now," and everybody's like, "Oh, the heartstrings. Oh, they really do." Get the fuck out of here with that shit. Fucking lying pieces of shit. They're just all lying pieces of shit. Anyways, needed to get that off my chest. Yes, climate change disproportionately impacts people of color. Yes. And pretty much everything else does. The entire economy is set up to disenfranchise people of color. The entire economy. Stop with the virtue signaling and do something about it, or fight for something real. Anyways. Basil Peterson says the beatings will continue till morale improves. Right. Oh my God, Biden is, his cabinet is all women and people of color. Oh my God. But, we're going to give all the women and the people of color who really need financial help, we're going to give them the shaft. Yay. Like rainbow flags, blowing out of, blah. It's all a scam, man. They're scamming you. Using your own emotional vulnerability as the lever. That's what they're doing to you. Anyways, let's move on to this article from Roger Hallam posted. I don't believe he wrote it. He posted it on Twitter. With the coming decades set to see as many as 3 billion people push beyond the historical range of temperature that human beings have survived and prospered in over the past 6,000 years. Translation from Guardian speak, we are looking at billions of deaths. I'm going to read that again. With the coming decades set to see as many as 3 billion people pushed beyond the historical range, right? That's some scientists speak there, of temperature that human beings have survived and prospered in over the last 6,000 years. Translation, we are looking at billions of deaths. And, again, that's what I was also saying yesterday. Billions of people are going to die. Can you just say that? Can that be the impetus to try to avoid destroying the entire planet? Instead of all this goofy equity, empowering, 3 billion people are going to die. How about we empower people not to die? How about we do that? Jesus fucking Christ. Okay. Global heating pushes tropical regions towards limits of human livability. Rising heat and humidity threatening to plunge much of the world's population into potentially lethal conditions, study finds. Oh, wow. The climate crisis is pushing the planet's tropical regions towards the limits of human livability, with rising heat and humidity threatening to plunge much of the world's population into potentially lethal conditions, new research has found. Research! They did a study. Peer-reviewed. Should governments fail to curb global heating to 1.5 C above the pre-industrial era, should they just walk into the future that is going to be here in about 5 minutes? Areas in a tropical band that stretches either side of the equator risk changing into a new environment that will hit, quote unquote, the limit of human adaptation, the study warns. Humans' ability to regulate their body heat is dependent upon the temperature and humidity of the surrounding air. We have a core body temperature that stays relatively stable at 37 C, 98.6 Fahrenheit, while our skin is cooler to allow heat to flow away from the inner body. But should we Should the wet bulb temperature, a measure of the air temperature and humidity, pass 35 C, high skin temperature means the body is unable to cool itself with potentially deadly consequences. Yeah, so they're talking about wet bulb temperatures. If it gets too hot, then it's too hot. Then people can't, then they die. A thing happens, it's called death. If it is too humid, our bodies can't cool off by evaporating sweat. This is why humidity is important when we consider livability in a hot place, said Yi Zhang, a Princeton University researcher who led the new study published in Nature Geoscience. High body core temperatures are dangerous or even lethal. It's the even lethal part that you have to worry about. The research team looked at various historical data and simulations to determine how wet bulb temperature extremes will change as the planet continues to heat up, discovering that these extremes in the tropics increase at around the same rate as the tropical mean temperature. This means that the world's temperature increase will need to be limited to 1.5 C. We're just going to do that. We're just going to do it. We're going to put a cap on it. We're going to cap it at 1.5 C to avoid risking areas of tropics exceeding 35 C in wet bulb temperature, which is so called because it is measured by a thermometer that has its bulb wrapped in a wet cloth, helping mimic the ability of humans to cool their skin by evaporating sweat. Dangerous conditions in the tropics will unfold even before the 1.5 C threshold. However, I'm going to read that again. So, this is in The Guardian. Hopefully a lot of people are reading this, maybe so. Dangerous conditions in the tropics will unfold even before the 1.5 C threshold. How hot are we now? However, with the paper warning that 1 C of extreme wet bulb temperature increase could have adverse health impact equivalent to that of several degrees of temperature increase. The world has already warmed by about 1.1 C. If you're using like a 1980 baseline or a 1950 baseline, but if you actually use a real baseline, we're actually, anywhere between 1.4 and 2. But definitely well below 2, definitely well below. 1.1 C on average due to human activity, and although governments vowed in the Paris Climate Agreement to hold temperatures to 1.5 C, we took a pledge. The 1.5 C pledge. Guys, we did it. We took the pledge. All right. High five. Scientists have warned this limit could be breached within a decade. And that is real. Breached within the decade. And then, what does that mean? This has potentially dire implications for a huge swath of humanity. Around 40% of the world's population currently lives in tropical countries. That's half the world, half the population of the planet with this, or that's human population, that is, with this proportion to set to expand to half of the global population by 2050 due to the large proportion of young people in the region. That's funny. That is hilarious. They didn't want to say population growth, so what they said was large proportion of young people. Woo! A+ for bullshit, Guardian. Due to the large proportion of young people, aka population growth. Jesus Christ. Just fucking say it, you cowards. The Princeton research was centered on latitudes found between 20 degrees north and a line that cuts through Mexico, Libya, and India to 23 degrees south, which goes through Brazil, Madagascar, and the northern reaches of Australia. I'm sorry, that is hilarious. Majaba Sadeh, an expert in climate risks at Boise State University, said the study does a great job, quote unquote, of analyzing how rising temperatures can render portions of the tropics uninhabitable in the absence of considerable infrastructure investments. What kind of infrastructure investments are we talking about? What kind of infrastructure investments are we talking about? We're talking about domes over cities filled with air-conditioned air? Is that what we're talking about? I mean, how are you gonna, what kind of infrastructure are you talking about, Mojaba Sadeh? If this limit is breached, infrastructure like cool air shelters are absolutely necessary. That's exactly what they're talking about. Cool air shelters, as in we're gonna put a dome over. We're gonna put a dome over Dubai. Okay. Necessary for human survival, says Sadeh, who was not involved in the research. Given that much of the impacted area consists of low-income countries, providing the required infrastructure will be challenging. Oh, indeed, that's going to be challenging. Theoretically, no human can tolerate a wet bulb temperature of above 35 C, no matter how much water they have to drink. The study is just the latest scientific warning over severe dangers posed by heat. Extreme heat waves could push parts of the Middle East beyond human endurance, scientists have found, with rising temperatures also posing enormous risk for parts of China and India. The global number of potentially fatal humidity and heat events doubled between 1979 and 2017. Research has determined, with the coming decades set to see as many as 3 billion people pushed beyond the historical range of temperature that humans have survived and prospered in over the past 6,000 years. Holy shnikes is about all I have to say. Yeah. That's not good, is it? It's not very good at all. Well, what are we going to do? We're going to build this infrastructure that's somehow going to allow billions of people to live in wet bulb temperatures. Is that what we're going to do? Boulder of Lampo says north-facing caves. Raza says young people grow up. Stop all your whining, your youth whining, and grow up. Anyways. Anthony Davis says infrastructure would encompass transportation, energy, and border wall construction. Nazmanab says move north or get toasted. JF Sebastian says the days are numbered for all large charismatic fauna. Indeed. Dome over Disneyland, yes. Yeah. OWASF says we're going to do epic shit. That's what. Okay. Yeah. That just, all of that doesn't sound very good, does it? Irk1 says, and that infrastructure will likely fail eventually, right? When it gets too hot. The infrastructure that they're talking about probably runs on fossil fuels, right? Or runs on things that are it's going to get so hot that a lot of those things are not going to be able to, the infrastructure is not going to be able to stay structured. Anyways. Are we transitioning to an El Nino? I didn't know that. I haven't seen that. I have not heard or seen such things, but that would, that'll be interesting for sure. Carl Rosengrant, underground houses are a solution. Search for Wofati houses to find out a cool design. Okay. Yeah, I imagine that's going to be all the rage. Underground houses are going to be all the rage in about 10 years. It's going to be super cool. We're going to live underground. That's funny. Chris Foster, yeah. That's, yeah, or that. Or that. Yeah, I thought we were in a La Nina. WM says La Nina, I believe. I didn't know we were in an El Nino or transitioning to an El Nino. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that. But if it's real, let me know. Good advice. Judy Truitt, don't build your underground house in a floodplain, though. Good advice. Basil Peterson, my basement stays 55 year round. Everyone's going to come live in your basement, okay? Let's go to Basil's. All right, so, well, this is going to be the solution for many. The air conditioning trap. How cold air is heating the world. The warmer it gets, the more we use air conditioning. The more we use air conditioning, the warmer it gets. Is there any way out of this trap? This is a long article. I don't know that I'm going to read the whole thing, but I'm just going to read through a little bit of it. On a sweltering Thursday evening in Manhattan in the summer of 2019, people across New York City were preparing for what meteorologists predicted would be the hottest weekend of the year. Over the past 2 decades, every record for peak electricity use in the city has occurred during a heat wave, as millions of people turn on their air conditioning units at the same time. And so, at the Midtown headquarters of Con Edison, the company that supplies more than 10 million people in the New York area with electricity, employees were busy turning a conference room on the 19th floor into an emergency command center. Inside the conference room, close to 80 engineers and company executives, joined by the representatives of the city's emergency management department, monitored the status of the city power grid, directed ground crews, and watched a set of dials displaying each borough's electricity use tick upward. It's like the bridge in Star Trek in here. Anthony Suozo, former senior system operator with the company, told me, you've got all hands on deck. They're telling Scotty to fix things. Scotty, the system is running at max capacity. Power grids are measured by the amount of electricity that can pass through them at any one time. Con Edison's grid with 62 power substations and more than 130,000 miles of power lines and cables across New York City and Westchester County can deliver 13,400 megawatts every second. A lot of megawatts. This is roughly equivalent to 18 million horsepower. On a regular day, New York City demands around 10,000 megawatts. Good Lord, every second. During a heat wave, that figure can exceed 13,000 megawatts. Do the math. Whatever the gap is in the AC. Whatever the gap is the AC. Michael Clendenin, company spokesman, told me the combination of high demand and extreme temperature can cause parts of the system to overheat and fail, leading to blackouts. In 2006, equipment failure left 175,000 people in Queens without power for a week during a heat wave that killed 40 people. By the evening of Sunday, the 21st of July, 2019, with temperatures above 36 C and demand at more than 12,000 megawatts every second, Con Edison cut power to 50,000 customers in Brooklyn and Queens for 24 hours. Afraid that parts of the nearby grid were close to collapse. Anybody remember what just happened in Texas? Imagine a heat wave, sitting over a major city for a week or two. Heat wave of like 110. Even 4 or 5 days would be enough to destroy a lot. It could have left hundreds of thousands of people without power for days. They were afraid that parts of the nearby grid were close to collapse, which could have left hundreds of thousands of people without power for days. The state had to send in police to help residents, and Con Edison crews dispensed dry ice for people to cool their homes. As the world gets hotter, scenes like this will become increasingly common. Buying an air conditioner is perhaps the most popular individual response to climate change. Popular. It's popular, you know. Everybody's doing it. And that, you know, again, that's really what everybody is going to do. I mean, it's already ridiculous as it is. Like people in the South in the U.S. just live with their AC and or their heat on all the time. They don't even open their windows ever. You know, they've completely cut themselves off from, you know, weather or the outside. And that's just how people live. That's just, you know, everybody else lives that way. Why wouldn't you live that way? It's crazy not to live without AC or heat or whatever. Or never open your windows 365 days a year. Anyways, buying an air conditioner is perhaps the most popular individual response to climate change. And air conditioners are almost uniquely power-hungry appliances. A small unit cooling a single room, on average, consumes more power than running 4 fridges, while a central unit cooling an average house uses more power than 15. Holy shit. That's a lot. Last year in Beijing, during a heat wave, 50% of the power capacity was going to air conditioning. Says John Dulac, an analyst at the International Energy Agency. These are oh shit moments. I just said, oh shit. That's a lot. There are just over 1 billion single room air conditioning units in the world right now. 1 billion. About 1 for every 7 people on Earth. Numerous reports have projected that by 2050, which 7 billion, 8 billion people are not going to make it to 2050. I'm sorry to tell you that. Ain't going to happen. Or you can book a room on a space hotel. It's great. Everybody's doing it. It's fine. You know, just get some money and just book a room on a space hotel. It's fine. Numerous reports have projected that by 2050, there are likely to be more than 4.5 billion air conditioners, making them as ubiquitous as the mobile phone is today. Hot commodity. Man, I feel like if you want to bet on a stock, put some money on some air conditioning companies. The U.S. already uses as much electricity for air conditioning each year as the U.K. uses in total. The IEA projects that the rest of the world, as the rest of the world reaches similar levels, air conditioning will use about 13% of all electricity worldwide and produce 2 billion tons of CO2 a year. About the same amount as India, the world's 3rd largest emitter. So just AC worldwide would use as much CO2 as the entire country of India. All of these reports note the awful irony of this feedback loop. Warmer temperatures lead to more air conditioning leads to warmer temperatures. And so it goes. The problem posed by air conditioning resembles in miniature the problem we face in tackling the climate crisis. Indeed. The solutions that we reach for most easily only bind us closer to the original problem. Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner. We got to transform our energy system. We got to build new electric cars, some more solar panels, and some windmills, and some hydropower, and all the other things. Meanwhile, while keeping our defense tip-top, maybe we'll renew our nuclear arsenal at the same time that we're transforming our energy system. Right? Ding, 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 ding. The solutions that we reach for most easily only bind us closer to the original problem. The global dominance of air conditioning was not inevitable. As recently as 1990, there were only about 400 million air conditioning units in the world, mostly in the U.S. Originally built for industrial use, air conditioning eventually came to be seen as essential, a symbol of modernity and comfort. Then air conditioning went global. Today, as with other drivers of the climate crisis, we race to find solutions and puzzle over how we ended up so closely tied to a technology that turns out to be drowning us. How did it happen? And again, I'm going to say, this is the, part of the language about equity and all that stuff. Like, the air conditioning and the solutions to people dying because of heat, basically, are seen as, equitable, right? It's seen as a, we have to do things for people, we can't leave people out. And I'm not against doing that, but that creates this catch-22, right? We got to help people. We got to make sure that people don't die. So we got to do all, build up all these technologies, and we must do this. We must go forward and do this. Oh, we just destroyed the planet because we just released all these emissions, doing all these things that we had to do in order to keep people alive. You see the catch in there. It's a really nasty, awful situation to be in that humans have put themselves in. I don't know. I'm not really going to read any more of this. It's going to go on and on. I want to read this. The last thing I want to say about this, though, I want to read this one paragraph. Like the aqueduct or the automobile, air conditioning is a technology that transformed the world. Lee Kuan Yew, the first prime minister of independent Singapore, called it one of the signal inventions of history that allowed the rapid modernization of his tropical country. In 1998, the American academic Richard Nathan told the New York Times that along with the Civil Rights Revolution, air conditioning had been the biggest factor in changing American demography and politics over the previous 3 decades, enabling extensive residential development in the very hot and very conservative American South. That's not all it did. The thing I want to point out, the Civil Rights Revolution, the last large-scale revolutions and riots that we had in this country, but riots that were kind of centered around like a revolutionary fervor in this country happened before we had air conditioning. I've heard it posited that air conditioning actually has made a lot of like revolutionary angst or anger or what's the word I'm looking for? Inspiration for revolutionary ideals and tactics and actions come when people are really uncomfortable, right? So if everybody has air conditioning and a little bit of food, you're not going to be as pissed off and angry, right? If you're not like sweltering in heat, thinking about the problems that you have and like wondering why you don't have, food or basic amenities or whatever. Air conditioning is one of those things that helps keep people like nice and calm. So if you're wondering why there hasn't been any, there are several. This isn't the only reason. There are several reasons why there haven't been any large scale like revolutionary movements in the last like 3 or 4 decades, 5 decades. One of those reasons is air conditioning. And in the future, when people are when unrest is knocking at the door of civilization, it's going to be really hard to, go out and stage a revolution if people are experiencing wet bulb temperatures. You're going to be like, man, can I get in that cooling shelter real quick? Oh, what do I have to do? Not protest or say anything bad about the people running the shelter? Okay, I'll do it. Oh, sorry guys, I don't know why this came up. That's weird. The N stands for no. Anyways. N. Remember N. Anyways. Yes, Gene. Riots happen in extreme heat. Richard Monroe says, I grew up without AC back in the Civil War. Well, we have a very, a conundrum in the fact that, in a stable climate, we could probably wean ourselves off of AC. And I encourage people to wean themselves off of AC. If you're, probably not people that are watching this channel, but because you guys are already mostly hip. But I'm just saying, like, if you're one of those people that just travels from AC cooled box to AC cooled box, you spend your entire life indoors. I don't think, a lot of people on this channel are doing that, but, I'd say that getting off of the AC/heat teat is paramount to living out, to living in harmony with the planet. But it's going to be very difficult because it's going to get really hot.